I have until October 1st of 2025 to get a legendary V10 at my home gym, BPUMP Tokyo. Why this date? This is the day my visa expires and I get kicked out of Japan, but maybe if I send a V10, they'll let me stay a little bit longer. Last episode, I managed to climb my hardest grade so far, 1D, Shodan. But the following day, I would get an injury that would destroy my chances of improving beyond that. This month is going to determine everything. Will I be able to improve my climbing despite my injury, or will I make it worse, pushing me even further away from my dream of sending a Nidan? To be honest, the first few days were horrible. My foot was super swollen up and I thought maybe climbing with one leg would be okay. But I quickly saw that it was impossible. Every single time I would jump off a route, I would slightly put some weight on it and I would feel a jolt of pain. I actually kept on going even though I knew it was probably wrong, but one day it was just too much. It felt even worse than the day I got injured and I completely stopped. This injury caught me completely off guard. It was not in my plans for sure. In my head, I was going to slowly but surely just keep on going up the grades, and this suddenly changed everything. I wasn't really sure what I could do. I thought climbing with one leg would be okay, but that proved to be too much. So I took a week off and I would see videos on Instagram of all my friends climbing all my projects. So it sucked. After a bit of rest and the swelling going down a little bit, I started to be able to walk a little more normal. I was still limping a lot, which hurt my knees and my hips, but I knew I had to have a solid plan for the next month. My foot would take at least that. I needed to readjust my aim and set some new goals. The first was getting back a little bit of general strength. It's been a while since I've trained and I can tell there's a few areas of my body that don't feel as strong as they used to in the past, so I'm gonna work on that. 2, do not make your foot worse. I'm talking to myself. This is important. I am known to be stupid and just keep on pushing on and make injuries worse. So I know because of the spot where this is something that if I don't fix completely, it will ruin my climbing career. If I can't really trust my foot anymore from this point on because I have the typical old injury, my climbing is gonna be doomed. So I need to really heal this completely and feel I can trust it in the future. So to do that, I do not have to make it worse. And step 3, which is basically step 2, but a little bit different. After time, when I see my foot improving, I will have to make it stronger again. If you've seen my videos, you know I have a little bit of tendonitis on my elbows going on for over a year. And this is something I haven't been able to completely get rid of, even though it's improved a ton. And this is something I do not want in my foot. I need it to come back 100% and strong as ever. With that in mind, I had 3 steps I wanted to achieve, but first of all, we're gonna focus on training. I made a full body routine, which is probably not the most effective way for anyone to train. It has a lot of different moves that are not specific to climbing. It's just things I wanted to work on to have a general balance in my body and other things I know I'm weak at. If you've seen my previous video, then you know I already spent 30 days training my fingers, and the good thing is I already have a routine. I know that works, so I'll just keep on doing that. I was actually pretty motivated to start training again, something despite my fingers, and injuries are usually an opportunity in disguise to work on something you haven't been paying attention to. But the pain in my non-injured leg was slowly piling up, so I was really tired when I got home, and having the energy to go through a full body workout was kind of tough. I would come back home every single day and use this massage gun to loosen up everything, just because my left leg was carrying about 90% of my weight and my right leg was barely having any weight on it. And if it did, it was always on the outside, so I wouldn't use my thumb. And yeah, I was developing new injuries. After about 10 days of this, I was going pretty crazy, seeing everyone climb and not me. And Monday was coming up and I had to set the problem for the English dojo. But not being able to climb the things you're setting makes it very tricky. I could make moves but not know if they were possible or if the people that usually come to the dojo would be able to do it. But I'm lucky it ended up being the perfect difficulty, and it was a good session, so everyone had fun. But the bad thing about the dojo is I couldn't really show people how to do the move when they were stuck. I could just explain it. So I decided the following week to make a boulder that I could climb only using my left leg, which was a bit of a challenge, but it ended up being pretty fun, and I could show everyone that came to the dojo how to do it. This is when I realized that as long as the problem is pretty straight up and not too much to the sides, it would be okay if I just used my left leg. The hard thing about this is balance is pretty tricky to find. So I developed a new technique called the knee snare. With this, as long as I knew I wouldn't fall off the problem, I would go for it. The crazy thing about this is that easy problems could suddenly be impossible because they needed a right leg, or very difficult problems would not be as bad because they were kind of straight up. Something I realized about a week into this type of climbing is that this is actually how a lot of people climb. Their lazy leg, the counterbalance leg, they don't really use it too much, and this makes everything harder. One of the things I think I'm actually good at climbing is having tension throughout crossbody movements. So when you really snare on the right leg, for example, and stretch out the left arm as far as you can to hold the hold, I think that's actually something I'm good at. So not being able to do that really made it very different on my style. I had to adapt a lot of things. And two techniques I really developed over these 2 weeks of one leg climbing was sagging my hips to find the balance right under the hold, and then moving to the next one after that. And another movement that's pretty cool, which is the pogo. Going to the gym was pretty tough because I would have to choose boulders where I could maybe only do 4 moves and then have to give up, or have to swap a foot out or some movement to make it possible for me. But with these new techniques under my belt, I actually managed to send a knee cue without my right leg. As my foot was improving and the swelling was going away, I managed to start walking like a normal person again. If you're enjoying the video, then just click the like or the subscribe. You wouldn't imagine how far it goes. With these modifications and being limited to just climbing on one leg, the amount of problems I could climb was quickly running out. Between me getting used to this more physical style and my finger strength improving, I decided to start campusing. Luckily, a friend of mine, Takumi, broke his leg a while back while trying to top out my project Haigyo, so I had a partner with the same limitation I had. Takumi is a complete beast. He went from V0 to V10 in only 2 years and is one of the persons with the most crazy finger strength I've ever seen. So I knew he was going to push me hard in these campus sessions. There's gonna be a video with him coming up soon, so subscribe so you don't miss it. We made a ton of campus problems on the spray wall, and if you want to give them a try, they're in a binder right by the wall. Out of all the problems, there were 2 that were especially hard, and neither of us could send them. One of them had a crazy Gaston move, and the only person to climb it was Hayato, and he actually broke the beta, so it's definitely hard. Doing campusing was really fun, and it made me forget about my foot injury for a while. I wasn't limited as climbing normal boulders, and we were all having fun on the same playing field. But campusing is a very intense form of climbing, so after a full month of not climbing normally, I wanted to try a rental shoe on my right foot. It was pretty uncomfortable, but it worked. There was no extra pain, and as long as the foothold was big, I think I would have no problem. I could finally complete a knee cue I had gotten to the middle when I was climbing one foot, and that's when I found this pink EQ. It's right by the shodan I sent, but before the injury, I did a few tries and couldn't understand the crux. Last week, I gave it a try with a few of my friends from work, and even though I couldn't get the move, I started to understand it. There's 2 ways to clear the crux. You can either drop knee but that was very small for me, so I opted for a toe hook. The thing about doing a toe hook in rental shoes is it's tough. It was very hard, but possible. And even though I didn't really get the move that first day, I felt closer than I thought. I gave that pink EQ quite a few tries, and there was a blue one right by it that I managed to do every single move. Since it was big holes, the rental shoes were not going to slow me down. Even though I didn't manage to complete it, I was very happy to be able to climb hard things again despite the injury and the rental shoes. This leads us to today. But before that, I want to share with you guys what I learned. This month proved to be extremely tough, but extremely rewarding. For a climbing addict like me, having to take a step back is always tough. But when I came back, even though it was in a limited way, I realized there's infinite ways to climb and infinite ways to improve. When I was climbing on one leg, I learned how to focus on finding balance on every single move. When I was campusing, I learned how to use momentum and timing. And when I could use my right leg, even though it was a little bit, I realized everything was easier, and smearing is my favorite technique. I won't sugarcoat it, it sucked. But I think this experience has made me a better climber. As I said before, I think injuries are an opportunity to work on things we haven't been paying attention to. For me, climbing improvement can be resumed in a single concept, ishiki. Intention. Subtle changes can lead to massive differences. Sometimes having infinite freedom leads us to not take any decision or any way to improve. But being limited can make you work and solve the problem with what you can do. Having said that, I want to leave you guys with the highlight of this month. I came back to the EQ on the day they were going to take it down. I really didn't expect much, and I was helping a friend try his project right by me. So I gave it a few tries and saw a glimpse of hope. If I could send this, I could do a move I couldn't do even before the injury. I was able to get the crux move in rentals, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get the first sequence. It was basically putting a ton of pressure on the right foot, and it was pretty scary. And also, the rental shoes were very flimsy, so I didn't really trust them. I took a step back and thought about the possibility of putting on my shoes again. I really wanted to send it, but at the same time, if I made my injury worse, what was all this improvement for? I decided to give it a try with the condition that I was going to be 100% honest with myself, and if it hurt, I was going to give up. I tried my cubits and the pain was unbearable. I tried the solution comps and I could fit, but as soon as I stood up, I felt a jolt of pain come through. It was my last pair of shoes, the souped ups. My favorite shoes, but at the same time, the shoes I got injured with. I put them off and there was no pain. I stood up and I felt a slight uncomfortable feeling on the side of my foot, right where the injury was. But it wasn't pain. I thought I might block myself mentally from going hard just because of this sensation. But I took a deep breath and forgot of the expectations I have of myself. If I fell, it was okay. And if I got it, that was okay too. I put my foot on the hold and just went for it, and got past the first sequence. Next was the crux, but with a better toe box, I was confident I could do it. This was the last crux, a bit ironic, a right leg pogo to a shallow hold. And now just an easy campus cross to the top. That was probably the best way to end that climb. A good reminder to not take climbing too seriously, even though it's one of the most important things in my life. If there's anyone struggling with an injury, I want you to know there's hope. And even if you're at the point where you can't do anything right now, one day you will. And that day will be pretty fun. See you guys next time.